Good morning. It's another day in paradise. Amen to that, right? So it's Mother's Day. And, you know, I came across something. I wasn't sure, like, how did Mother's Day really start? I don't know if you know, but it all started by a woman, Ann Jarvis, who wanted to have a tribute for her mom. And her mom was known for raising money to buy medicine and childcare for people in need. She died in 1905. So Anna petitioned Congress for a national holiday to honor her mother's memory. Now, decades later, when Mother's Day kind of became so commercial, more about cards than really honoring our moms, Anna petitioned Congress to revoke Mother's Day. Now you can imagine, it never happened. Okay? So today, as we celebrate Mother's Day with joy and gratitude, let's also just take a moment to acknowledge that for some, it may evoke mixed memories. Whether it's a day filled with bouquets and brunches, or those mixed, challenging emotions, let's approach it with kindness and understanding. And whether you're a mom, a mother figure, or maybe even a mentor, let's celebrate the difference that you can make in other people's lives, because it is your legacy. Now, each of you have a handout. Let's see, somewhere here. Oh yeah, looks like this. I'm sure you know. Handout and a pen. You might be wondering, what's up with that? So, throughout my talk, there may be moments where you'll have an opportunity to reflect, maybe capture a thought or a question, and my hope is that you'll then take that handout home and do some further reflection on it. Now, I have a question for you. How many of you woke up this morning thinking, I'm going to live my legacy today? I don't know, it wasn't me. How often do you catch yourself just kind of, well, daydreaming about what your legacy will be? A few people, good. So what if I told you that you are actually living your legacy every moment, choice by choice? Okay, when was the last time you even thought about your legacy? I mean, I get it. You know, for most of us, when we think about our legacy, we're thinking about like all that stuff we're going to leave behind someday. Well, the reality is we don't think about the legacy that we're creating by who we are, how we live our lives, and the impact that it has on other people. So maybe start by asking yourself, am I living my legacy by design or default? Now, what I mean by design is like on purpose, in alignment with what matters most to you today. So here's a question. What do you want your legacy to be? How do you want to show up in the world? Don't analyze it, don't judge it, just whatever comes to mind, you might want to just make a little note, something you can reflect on later. Now, if you're finding it difficult, and many do, time to give yourself permission to think about, to get crystal clear about what does matter most to you. What kind of difference do you want to make in this world? And when you're not sure about that, well, the risk is you're going to live your life like the path of least resistance, okay? Or maybe, just maybe, you'll be going like 100 miles an hour in the wrong direction. Now wait, I said, give yourself permission. You ever find yourself like raising your hand, waiting for permission from other people, your friends, your family, your colleagues, maybe even society, to live the life that you really want? Yeah. Some of us, others not so much, okay? Problem is, when we seek permission from other people, we hold ourselves captive to what may no longer be meaningful. But there is an alternative. There's another definition. Liberty granted. Liberty granted. And when you give yourself permission, it is liberating. So, wait a minute. I think we better ask a little different question first. Do you believe it's okay to want what you really want? Yeah, I say damn right. You know, if your immediate reaction is hell yes, woohoo! But if you're unsure, welcome to the club. So many of us have been conditioned to think it's selfish. Or worse yet, we don't deserve it. And I say, enough of that. Time to change that story, right? So here's something to ponder. What would you need to shift in your life in order to be living more of your legacy? That thing that may be like tugging at your heart that you haven't done yet? And if that question is a little overwhelming, think about this. What's one thing, just one thing, you could do today that would get you a little bit closer to what you really want? Now, what I've learned is that when we follow our heart's desire, it naturally leads us to our passion, our purpose, and our legacy. And the good news, whether you're young, old, anywhere in between, it is never too late to begin living the legacy you want today. Now, you might be wondering what led to that bold hell yes on my part, and what's helped me turn the impossible into the possible. So I want to take you back way more years than I want to think. I'm 14. My parents take me to an Up With People performance. It's a lively 2-hour inspiring performance, and it's all college-age students who are traveling the world singing and dancing their way to becoming a lifelong change maker. And everywhere they go, they stay in people's homes. You can imagine how eye-opening that might be for both the host families and the cast members. Now, traveling with Up With People becomes my dream, maybe even an obsession. I am going to figure out some way, somehow, someday to do that. Now remember, I'm just 14. But 2 years later, Up With People decides to create a high school cast with 100 juniors and seniors from around the world. And I'm like, I'm in, right? And despite all the naysayers, and you can imagine, there were many. Yeah, Kat, really? Uh-huh, sure. Well, opening that long-awaited letter, the only word I saw was, congratulations! And I'm running around the house waving that letter like I just won the Publisher's House sweepstake. Only to hear, hey, you know, Kat, we can't do that. You're too young. We can't afford for you to be on the road for a year. And I'm like, wait. Why did they let me apply if they never had any intention of letting me go? Or maybe more likely, They never thought I'd get in. So, dilemma, what to do next, right? So, first, have you ever wanted something so bad, only to have someone steal your dream? It sucks. It sucks. So, no one's going to steal my dream. I've been obsessing about this for 2 years. So I guess it's time to make the seemingly impossible possible. So what do? I pick up the phone and I dial, yes, dial, NBC Studios. So, NBC Studios? Yes, this is Mary. How can I help you? Hey Mary, this is Kat. Can I talk to Bob? Kind of a silence, and I'm thinking, I can't believe I'm doing this. It's kind of a long shot, but hello, this is Bob. Who is this? Oh, hi Bob, this is Kat. We met 2 years ago. Actually, no, it was last year when you emceed that NBC special with Up With People. And I know you're a big supporter of them. Yeah? Well, Bob, you know what? They just started a high school cast and I'm in. I know it's going to be life-changing. The only thing standing between me and that dream is the money to pay for it. Oh, yeah. Well, that's amazing. Sure, I'd love to sponsor your travels. Wow. What I forgot to tell you is it was Bob Hope. Yeah, I called Bob Hope. And that call ended up becoming my Bob Hope strategy. It became my superpower. And it can be yours too. So honestly, can't remember how much it was, but for me it might as well have been $1 million. So, now, what is that Bob Hope strategy really? It's all about believing that the seemingly impossible is possible and being brave enough to actually ask for what you really want and believe it's possible, right? Well, I hope you noticed I said brave, not fearless, because I'll tell you, I was trembling when I picked up that phone. It's all about something is more important than the fear that you're feeling. So I wanted that so bad, I didn't care whether I was shaking or not. So that Bob Hope strategy, it allowed me to hit the road at 16, 24/7, 365, with 100 students from around the world, 15 staff. I'd never met any of them before. And you know what? I discovered I love performing, and more so, I love the idea that I can inspire someone else. I can make a difference in the world. And my high school experience, oh my gosh, it was my senior year, like none other. We actually got to choose what we wanted to study. And keep in mind, no textbooks, no computers, no internet, and no cell phones. And we had to find whatever we needed for what we were studying, wherever we were. And we were never in any place more than 5 days. And that helped me become a resource choreographer. So that has served me well the rest of my life. I traveled for 2 years. My assumptions, definitely challenged. My perspective, well, it evolved. I gained empathy, appreciation for people who were different than me, but only to discover they really weren't that different. We all tend to share the same fundamental hopes and dreams. So these transformative experiences do help me become a lifelong change maker. It's helped me live a legacy of saying hell yes to the seemingly impossible. So question, how could everything that you've experienced, and I know looking out this room, you've had lots of experience, right? How is all of that going to help you live the legacy that you really want? There are so many seemingly impossible opportunities that I face. But you know what? I did it throughout my career, you know. But first, I have a confession. No, a declaration. I am a disruptor. I'm proud of it, I might add. So for the first 15 years, I try to challenge the status quo in the corporate world. And guess how that went? Not too well, okay? It just, my heart really wasn't in it. So I decided to make the shift to the nonprofit world. So for 5 years, initially, I commit to challenging the label of at-risk for adolescent girls in residential treatment. These girls were either just out of juvenile hall or on their way there if they didn't get their act together. But you know what? I realized everyone kept saying, we need to give these girls a second chance. I'm like, a second chance? If the only thing they've ever known is one thing, how could it be a second chance? So my whole thing was, how are we going to give them a first chance? How are we going to help them turn their lives around? So I decided to create an innovative volunteer program, putting the girls out in the community. Guess what? This challenged the not in my backyard mentality of many. But we did it. And I wanted to see how I could help these girls see themselves in a different light, to see that they could make a difference in the world. And I wish you could have seen how they just lit up when they did just that. It was really incredible. That program was so successful, it allowed me to attract the resources to create an innovative job training program that would help them and eventually other kids in the community be prepared for life in the workplace. The results were beyond my expectations. It was incredible. So I have a question for you. Where do you have an opportunity to make a difference in a young person's life? Where can you bring all this wisdom to them? Who comes to mind? What might you share with them? How might that help you make a difference with SIP before this next thing? Because years later, for it, I decide to become a pioneer in the charter school movement. Now, my passion was figuring out how to create an alternative learning model for kids that weren't succeeding in a traditional learning environment. And I have to tell you, I was either Satan incarnate or Mother Teresa, depending on your perspective. So, needless to say, my experience in Upward People really influenced that model that I created. It was an innovative, project-based learning model, going way beyond traditional subjects, focused on teaching kids how to learn, how to think critically, and how to become socially responsible citizens. Yeah, we had more of that, right? So for 12 years, I experienced endless pushback. I mean, endless pushback, trying to champion this new model. And you know, at one point, I had the opportunity to take it on the road with a Bill and Melinda Gates funded project. And I'm thinking, oh, Bill and Melinda Gates, I mean, that'll make all the difference, right? Not. It really didn't, because I was trying to put a round circle in a square, or round peg in a square hole. You know, trying to do something really transformative, but oh, by the way, you got to make it fit in the traditional learning system. So, you know, thankfully, Bob Hope, that strategy, helped me kind of persist, and in the end, I couldn't, you know, I was like beating my head against a brick wall, and I did decide to do something different, but I know that it made a difference in a lot of young people's lives who, were it not for that model, they would never have stayed in school. So I realized there were 4 C's that helped me accomplish these things. The first C is the courage to step out, challenge the status quo. And the second is clarity. Getting the clarity that you need to understand what you want to do and why it's so important. Which leads to the third C, which is that hell yes commitment. And then the fourth C is all about developing the capacity to make it happen. Those 4 C's, courage, clarity, commitment, and capacity, also have a fifth C in the center of it all, which is choice. Because we're all making choices every day. And with those choices and those 4 C's, you can make a huge difference. So what if now is the perfect time for you to say hell yes to what you really want, to creating that legacy that's in alignment with what's most important to you. Now, my most poignant and profound experience of doing the seemingly impossible and led me to a discovery of a legacy of love. I hope it captivates your heart. I hope it inspires you to discover and pursue your passion, your purpose, your legacy. Now, God's ways, not usually our ways. Never in my wildest imagination could I have known how answering an unexpected call back in 1988 would lead to my calling. Imagine, it's 9 o'clock at night. I hear the phone's ringing. I hear, Kat, this is Terry. Oh, yeah, I know it's late, but my son Mikey just got diagnosed with a malignant brain tumor. They're going to operate in the morning. I am terrified. I need some support. Could you come to the hospital? Okay, now, I know my immediate thought should have been, of course. But you know what? I barely know Terry. We met not that long time ago. Why is she calling me? I mean, really? In hospitals, I hate them. Terrified of them, actually. Have you ever had a battle between your logic and your heart? Yeah, what won out? And how did that play out? So the logical part of me is screaming, no way. But my heart said go. So next thing I know, I'm making the 20-minute trek between this ominous canyon with all these twists and turns on the way from my house to the hospital. It becomes a metaphor for what I'm about to experience. So next thing I know, I step off the elevator, and I know they tried to make it look nice, bright, and cheery, but for me, I thought I entered the Twilight Zone, the pediatric oncology unit. Yeah, my emotions were all over the place. And I find Terry, and she's like, Kat, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm 5 months pregnant. I have to keep working or I'm going to lose my health insurance. This isn't even my child. I mean, it feels like Terry's dilemma is now becoming mine. Driving home, man, I am bargaining with God. I'm like, why is this happening? Why me? This is crazy. My life is a mess. How can I take this on? Then a surprising peace just washes over me. It was really kind of unbelievable. Logically, this made no sense. But I'm beginning to get a sense that there's a reason. I just don't see it yet. The next morning, step off that same elevator, find Mikey's room. I hear myself saying, hey Terry, I thought about it. You know, my kids are at school during the day. I'm working on the weekends. I would sit with Mikey during the week while the kids are in school. And then I'm thinking, wait, did I just say that? I mean, really, this makes no sense at all. As you might imagine, Terry's response is one of overwhelming gratitude. So for the next 6 weeks, I am living in an alternate universe. These little kids are walking around the unit with their IV poles, and they're laughing, and they're smiling, and, you know, despite the fact that many of them are probably on death's doorstep. And I'm thinking, yeah, what if I lived my life that way? So there's this gaggle of girls, 5 and 6-year-olds, and they're, you know, like the others, walking around having a good time, but I notice that they get really pissed off when people mistake them for boys. Chemo, radiation, bald heads, unshapely figures, skinny, you know. It was tough. So, what I do? Girly stuff to the rescue. Yay! So I bring in makeup, I bring in jewelry and headbands and bows and, you know, everything that will help them feel like the beautiful girls that they really are. And it makes all the difference. These girls, they're parading around with their new look, happy as a clam. But there's one girl, I notice she's always kind of on the periphery, and I've never seen a visitor. So I find out her name is Vanessa. I find out there's a reason why she's not as happy as the other kids. Her parents abandoned her 4 months earlier when she too was diagnosed with a malignant brain tumor. And it was 2 weeks before Christmas. Unthinkable. I mean, I can't even, imagine. You know, a 5-year-old girl diagnosed with a life-threatening tumor, ungodly treatments with no support. But her courage, it inspires me. So I wonder, what if I spend a little time with Vanessa? Maybe it wouldn't be so bad for me either. Little do I know how that will change everything for me, for Vanessa, and everyone on our path. Then there's a fateful night. Chemo takes a deadly toll. Of course, nurses call her family, and of course, they never show up. So I decide to stay, hold her hand through the night, determined this little girl is not going to die alone. Miraculously, she survives. We have an unbreakable bond. So a few days later, I asked the nurse, hey, Vanessa seems like she's good enough to maybe go to the park or go to McDonald's, just get her out of here. She's been here 4 months. Her response, that's impossible. So I'm thinking, impossible? You don't know me. What if it's not? So, interestingly, 3 days later, Sandy, the social worker, approaches me. Hey, Kat, we're wondering, would you be willing to take Vanessa? I'm like, to the park? Now, little do I know that she's not talking about the park. She's not talking about McDonald's. She's talking about, will I take her home? Moment of truth. I mean, logic, again, saying no way. But my heart, I hear myself saying, yeah, okay, I'll do that. Now, the minute I say yes, the social worker quickly informs me that Vanessa's prognosis isn't good. Probably only about 3 months. But she doesn't need to be in the hospital all that time. So I'm thinking, oh my God, 3 months? Can I give myself permission to take this on? Especially now. There's so many unknowns, and then there's the known. But, yep, a week later, I'm loading Vanessa into my van, yet again, maneuvering the twists and turns that become another metaphor. And I'm thinking, what the bleep am I doing? You might be thinking the same thing. Have you ever had second thoughts about saying hell yes to something that's kind of crazy, seemingly impossible? How did that work out for you? I do have to admit, though, it is so easy to allow doubt and fear to keep me from pursuing that very thing that could be life-changing. There are endless, like, what-ifs and shoulds and that could have overshadowed my calling. I didn't know then how that decision would create my legacy. Okay, now I do admit, taking Vanessa home, especially with that daunting prognosis, was kind of crazy. The thing that really challenged me, though, was when I took her home, I thought I was going to get all this support. No. What I realized years later is that people were just afraid of the prognosis, the fact that she was probably going to die. But I have to tell you, there was one dear friend, her name is Kat too, but she's a C, okay? She shared, listen, Kat, when Vanessa's time on earth is over, you are going to have the privilege of ushering her back into the arms of God. Now, to this day, I still get chills when I think about that. Quite a different perspective. Gave me the courage to face what lies ahead. Now, I'm a foster parent to a child with an uncertain future. My relationship with doctors, love, hate. Love, hate. A constant battle between what she could do or couldn't do, about what was possible or what was impossible. So think about a time when a doctor or maybe some other authority figure questioned what you thought was best. Did you go along with them? Or did you do what you thought was best? And how did that turn out? So I'm standing firm in the face of the doctor's admonition that, all these things that I wanted to do were impossible. It was easier said than done, I do admit. It's difficult. It's difficult to stand firm in the face of authority, right? But remember, there is power in possibility. So, first challenge. I decide I want to enroll Vanessa in kindergarten, which is about 3 months down the road. And the doctors are like, there is no way. That would kill her. I'm like, you said she'd be dead in 3 months, so what does it matter, right? So off she goes to kindergarten, and yes, there are lots of days that she's not able to go, not well enough to be there. But imagine how thrilled she was when she put on that cap and gown and walked across the stage, graduating at kindergarten. Then she begs me to take ballet. Another round of, that'll kill her. Never mind. So it's time for her first recital. She's in the backwash of chemo, not doing too well, but she is determined. She begs me to take her. So we go straight from the hospital to the recital. Her joy, unmistakable. And she is such an inspiration to everyone on and off the stage. What if I given in to the doctor's admonitions? Different story, right? Oh, and in the middle of all this, wait for it, my husband and I had a husband, my husband and I decided to put an end to the perfect marriage, as in the perfect marriage of dysfunction. So now I'm a single mom, and not just of Vanessa. I have a son, Jeff. He was 12 when Vanessa came into our life. And I have to say, he was so loving and had so much care and compassion for Vanessa. But when it came to me, not so much. It was really tough. I went through, I think, every parenting program under the sun, trying to figure out how to improve the way that Jeff and I related, but to no avail. After the divorce, his behavior escalates, and the decision is made he needs to go to live with his dad. That was really tough, really, really tough. And I do have to say that over the years, we have developed a better relationship. If I'm lucky, he might even call me today. We'll see. Eventually, I decided to try the dating thing. Now, I won't go into it. It did not go over so well. I kind of gave up. Then, the unexpected happened. I get another interesting thing happens. I'm at that nonprofit, and I'm going through the mail, and I see one that's handwritten, so, I open it, and I find this handwritten letter. Handwritten letter. It's from a guy, his name is Michael, and, he was talking about himself, and he's a single dad, and, and he's an architect. He's heard me on the radio, kind of a Sleepless in Seattle kind of thing. He heard me on the radio talking about the mission of this nonprofit. And he said, I'd love to help. I'm an architect. If you ever need that kind of advice, please, feel free to reach out. So I'm thinking, maybe, just maybe, this could put an end to that losing streak on the dating front. Right? So I concoct a plan. I call him, hey, were you really serious? Because we're going to remodel our ranch, and we could use some advice. So he says, sure, I'll come out. I can't wait. I'm really excited. He was the nicest guy ever, but not my type. So I thought, that would be that. But again, God had other plans. 3 months later, I get another unexpected call. So, hi, this is Michael. I have no idea why I'm calling you. But Friday night, I got this little inkling to call you from God. I quickly ignored it, but it came back to last night, and today's Sunday, and I thought, well, okay, maybe I'll give her a call. So, what's happening in your life? And I'm like, I hope he's ready for this, because I'm going to unload. Right? Friday night, I was in a horrible accident, totaled my car. I'm in the ambulance. I have no idea who to call when something like this happens. And, oh, by the way, my social worker calls, says there's a problem with the adoption now that you're a single mom. I'm like, really, single mom? I take this dying child and you're worried about me being a single mom? And, oh, by the way, my son, he's totally out of control. I finally take a breath. And I thought I was going to hear a click on the other end. But I didn't. He says, oh, now I know why I called. Can I call you tomorrow, check in? I'm like, yeah, right, I think that'll ever happen. But it does. That night, the next night, the next night, every single night for 1 year. We've become really close friends. Now you won't believe what happens next. He shows up at my door with a golden retriever and a bag full of groceries. Says, let me take go. Go for it, right? So I just can't believe what I'm seeing. It's like something out of one of those heartwarming Hallmark movies. He's on the floor with Vanessa in the kitchen, pulling each ingredient out of the bag like it's magic. And it is. I mean, she is loving this, and he teaches her how to make spaghetti, and that golden retriever is like snuggled right in. It was just amazing. Her smile just permeated the room. Reminded me of how she stole my heart. I see Michael through new eyes, wondering though secretly hoping this will lead to something more. Then it happens, a meltdown kiss. Changes everything. Fast forward, we're in this romantic restaurant, and I see this bouquet of flowers coming towards me, and I'm thinking, they're for me? And then I notice there's a baseball in the middle of the bouquet. I'm like, what's that? What's up with that? I take the ball out, and it's hinged. I open it up. One side, a ring. The other side, ready to play ball. Harkening back to that awful, awful rant. He becomes an amazing husband, been married 30 years, sitting right up here supporting me as always. Okay. And he becomes an amazing dad for Vanessa. The treatments, yeah, they take a toll. She has lots of cognitive, emotional, physical challenges, but she figures out how to live life. She lives a life well lived. She volunteers at the Pasadena Humane Society. She works at PetSmart until her challenges result in her leaving the cage open and the rats are going throughout the store. Puts an end to that. I become an endless advocate, making sure that she never becomes invisible. So along her journey, she always expresses God's love, His compassion, and His grace as only she could. While people say that I was her angel, she was our angel, a true gift from God. She teaches us what it means to really be alive, to live in the moment with joy, and to embrace gratitude no matter what the circumstance. So her health, it declines unmercifully. We both struggle with anticipatory grief. I mean, I feel helpless. And depression kind of weaves itself in and out of denial, anger, and bargaining. I mean, lots of bargaining. Acceptance feels elusive. Till Valentine's Day 2015. 26 years after her prognosis, Vanessa joins her friends for a tea party in heaven. And yes, I have the honor, we have the honor of ushering her back into the arms of God. She lived out her purpose, her legacy. And just like my dear friend said, yeah, we had that privilege. So there it is, the answer to why you died. So Vanessa's finally at peace. No, she wasn't cured, but she was healed. And so was I. Answering that late night call led me to Vanessa and eventually to Michael. I discovered what it is to live a legacy of love. So, what if I hadn't answered that unexpected call? How could living out your purpose transform your world? How could it transform the world of everyone else on your path? Thank you.
We're not going to actually do a question and answer period. She wanted to be able to talk right on through it. But what I want you to know is that she has a book here that's available for you to purchase. She also is going to be a new voice on America's Empowerment Channel. And there's a flyer here by the books that you can pick up and you can see the schedule of it. And we're so happy to be here with us. Thank you so much. Thank you.